Well, hello, friends. Welcome to Become an Elite Financial Advisor. Sten is not here today because we are doing an advisor interview with Mihei Egoroff. And Mihei, I want to thank you for being a part of our community for at least a couple of years, right?
That's been about a year and a half, yeah.
Nice. Well, thank you for being a part of the community and for your contributions. And it's been exciting to see. You're an implementer. You just take stuff and you go do it. And I think you're also good at putting your own spin on it and saying, hey, I'm going to own this and do it my own way. And I think that's good. We like to make things so that they're flexible enough that you can do it in your own way, but still sticking to that core that your time and ideas have value. Let's start with some of the basics, and we'll talk about your career and some of the things that you can encourage other advisors with as you share your story. How long have you been in the business? And what do you specialize in?
Thanks, Andy. It's a pleasure to be here. So I started in 2020. So right when COVID was starting, I literally January, I think I got licensed. And 3 months later, we had the great 34% downturn, right? So wow. It's been about 4.5 years that I've been in the business. And now I focus, a lot into planning, like you guys teach, and like you guys have been talking about. Once I found you guys, that's where I really started focusing a lot of my energies versus just the general AUM, gather assets, insurance type of stuff.
Okay. And tell us, I like to ask this question when I can. What are some of your earlier memories of money growing up?
That's a great question. So my dad was a business owner. He had a store in Woodburn, where we lived here in Oregon, Pacific Northwest. And he would pay me $5 to put together a vacuum cleaner out of the box per vacuum cleaner. And they would put it on the shelf there to sell. So he would pay me $5 for each one. I did the first one. It took me maybe like 45 minutes to an hour. And then I did the next one in half an hour. And then the next one faster. So I got to do them pretty quick. And he'd pay me $5. And I said, well, if I do them 5 in an hour or 1 an hour, I can make a lot more money. And I'm 8 years old at the time.
Wow.
So I started really understanding that I could make more money in less time, depending on how I applied my time and how efficient I was. Yeah. So that's probably my earliest memory of money.
Wow. Now, did you shift from sort of how exciting I get paid $5 to this? How long did it take you to go, wait a minute, if I just do it faster? I mean, was it by your second or third one? You're like, wait a minute, I can just work faster, more efficiently. I mean, how quickly were you motivated by that?
Yeah, it was probably that very same day within the first couple hours, but I was 8. So you lose your attention span really quickly. So by the end of the week, I think I was there probably 4 or 5 days. By the end of the week, I was on something else. I didn't care about making money because I was 8. Yeah. But yeah, I got to do them pretty quickly. And then after a couple of weeks, I didn't go back there, and they had enough, I guess. And my dad didn't want to pay me anymore because I was just pumping them out.
That's right. Uh-oh. So put you in sales. That would have been better.
Yeah.
So tell me about when it comes to some shifts in your business. You got into the business assuming AUM. It's about gathering that, and we're big fans of AUM. Everybody loves to gather AUM and have a relatively passive income in that regard. You do have to manage it, but you don't have to manage it $1 at a time, right? So what shifted in you that you went from only focusing on gathering to I'm going to get paid for my time and ideas? And then let's talk about what does that actually look like on a practical level for you?
Yeah. Well, I had a great mentor, great guy, still a wonderful friend. He just retired this year, actually. He taught me the typical AUM, gather assets, serve everybody the same, serve everybody great. But the planning was, different for a $2 million client versus a $20,000 client under AUM size. Yeah. And so I was listening to a lot of podcasts, and I saw that there's a lot of lot of services that we can get paid for in our with ideas there. And I just didn't know how to do it. And that's where I came across Sten Morgan's interview with Michael Kitces.
Okay.
So Kitces podcast, the Financial Advisor Success podcast, and he was interviewing Sten Morgan. Sten talked very concisely, very, very proactively, very simply to understand, hey, we can do this and we can charge for ideas and we can make it very easy. We just have to have these things set up. And so that's where I learned about it. That was about 2 years ago. And then I just binged on Sten's Elite Advisor Network podcast after that, kind of, lurked in the background of your guys' websites for a little while until I went to your guys' How to Charge live event last May.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that and you talking with your wife about that. And it's, it was a family decision. And tell me on a really practical level, what's different about your company today than it was, say, 2 years ago when you are looking for a prospect, when you're thinking about the kind of person you want to work with?
That's a great question. So basically, what qualifies?
Who's your ideal client now?
Yeah. Well, people that want to maximize their financial life, right? They want to do the planning. They want to look forward, not just 1 year, but 5, 10, 15 years and, try to maximize all the things that we can over that lifetime. Whether it's just a simple W-2 employee that's making a lot of money that, wants to maximize, just a simple HSA strategy, or if they're a business owner that wants to, set up a solo 401k with mega backdoor contributions. Like there's so many things that we can do, but we have to have the client that wants to actually do those things.
Right.
So that would be the ideal client, I'd say, is the person, the client, the household that wants to maximize their financial life.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a recent client that you've worked with that you were able to find some specific things for and quantify them to where they said, totally makes sense, I'm in? Can you just give me a specific example of that?
Yeah. So I'm actually in the process of bringing on a few clients just this last month, and they're all planning clients. Some of them are brand new to investing. Some of them have been investing, but they've been, working on a couple other goals beforehand. But one couple is a high earning couple. They have great income and a side hustle. So we can do, set up a solo 401k for one of the spouses, maximize their pre-retirement things. They're wanting to retire in, 10 years. So they're like, hey, we heard that, Roth is the best. I'm like, well, I mean, it is eventually, but, do we want to do pre-tax and then do Roth conversions later? Because you guys are in really high tax bracket. And just those few ideas, we use some software and, ran some just general assumptions that could save them probably, ultimately it might even be 7 figures over their lifetime in taxes, but in the next 10 to 15 years, several $100,000.
I don't know if there's any people listening that have this tension, but maybe there are some. But let's go in this direction, which is, I think there's some people who say, I do that already, and people don't need to pay me a separate fee for that, right? So what? And at the same time, our line of thinking is, hey, people may not actually take the action, so they need to buy a plan, and people are more likely to implement when they're paying for something than when they aren't. And so that's why we encourage you to charge a fee. And by doing that, you'll be more thorough in your planning as well. So we think it's healthy all the way around. So tell me how your work has changed now that you are leading more with planning. Are you finding more opportunities? Does it take 10 times as long to work with people? What's different now? Because I don't want to paint this picture that everything's easier and simpler, and planning adds complexity, right? It's a question of, is it worth it or not, right?
Yeah, that's a great Great question, Andy. And I would definitely say it's not easier, but it's something we're already doing. And so we might as well get paid for it and do it right. That's what I like about it. Because when I was just doing AUM, it seemed like I would say, hey, I think we can maximize some strategy over here, but it's not something we're managing, or it's maybe something in their 401k, but we would just mention it. There was no follow through. There was no accountability,
Yeah.
or not as much. With planning, there is more work, definitely, but we're getting paid for that work, one. And two, we're able to set our clients up to say, hey, I'm going to handhold you through this thing. We're going to set you up with an estate plan. We're going to either be sitting there with your attorney, or, guide you to one, or we can even now do simple wills and simple trusts through a affiliate vendor. So those are things we can actually handhold and walk through with our clients. Cause we probably all know that client we've been mentioning the same thing for the last 3-4 years that they should get done and they never do.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing that I would say that I've got feedback from clients was just, hey, we put a plan together and we actually went through with it. We finished it. We did the things that we set out to do.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, I think, probably the best benefit that I've seen.
It does create an interesting dynamic when, we recently got some landscaping done. And it was really clear when they started what it looked like, and when they finished what it looked like. And I think that's an interesting thing, an interesting dynamic that a financial advisor can often struggle with, because sort of the job's never done, right? People don't get to feel a lot of like, oh, they did this for me, because it's just sort of a beginning, and then the end is way down the line. Another interesting thing that a dynamic that planning can bring in is this sense of, here is something you're going to buy, a plan, and we're going to implement the plan. And then when we're done implementing the plan, yes, there's these ongoing things that go on, but we started somewhere and we ended somewhere. Not that you're done in the relationship, but there's something about, I find a great satisfaction. I used to do it, but now I watch my kids cut the grass at our house. They're old enough to do that. But that, like, it was not done and now it's done. And I think that that's something that a lot of advisors struggle with, because sort of like the job is never done. But in reality, if you do planning, your job can be done in a sense that it's like, our job was to start all these accounts and open these things and meet with these vendors and get all this stuff set up. And then we're done. Now we're going to keep working together, but we're done. So how long does it take you when it comes to a planning client to say, okay, hey, we met, we agreed to this, here's the plan. How long is it taking you in different plans to say, okay, we're done, everything's set up, now we just have to, maintain. But how long does it take you? Because you talked about other vendors and wills and things like that. So what does that look like timeline wise?
Quite literally, every client's going to be different.
Sure.
I have one client we just brought on board for a very simple, what we call our essentials plan. They're a young couple. They just needed life insurance in place, a will or a trust they wanted, simple trust. And I think it was one other thing, and we'll probably be done in 2-3 months. Right. And that's not really rushing anything. That's probably 2-3 meetings. Getting the life insurance is mostly done digitally, and then, a couple other minor things. And so that's what we say, hey, if we're going to work together with somebody, we want to at least get those essentials in place. At more advanced planning, it could be multiple years, and it could be done in 1 year. It depends on the availability of the client, how many tasks we're going to put together, if we're doing 401k planning, if we're doing, massive life insurance planning. I mean, there's just so many things that can be done, but typically the planning agreement will be for a more advanced client about 12 months. And then if we got most of the items done, we would go through, and this is something you guys have, teach very well, is, hey, do we need to renew this plan? And what are the things we're going to be doing if we do renew it? Do we need to adjust the fee? Or did we get all of our tasks done and now we're just on maintenance mode for maybe a year or two? Mm-hmm. Because even with the more advanced planning clients, there's going to be some planning. I'll give you an example. There's elderly clients, and if they're big givers, they've got massive IRAs. Well, Roth conversion strategies and qualified charitable distribution strategies need to happen every year. So that's planning that happens every year on a smaller scale because their will and trust is already set up. We don't need to do that over and over. But we'll need to meet a couple hours, at least 2-3 hours, maybe once or twice with their CPA just to do those Roth conversion or QCD strategies. So it really depends on each client. And that's why it's so important to know what they're doing and what they want to do and what kind of planning they want to approach it with. And so, yeah, we take it case by case and adjust accordingly.
So based upon that, is your fee set by, hey, we quantified this much money, so we can charge you this much? Or is it length, and complexity, right? A little mix of both. How have you settled on a formula for what to charge folks?
Yeah, I try to go a little bit of both. So if it's just a one-off, we try to put it on our hourly basis. If it's a one-off consultation, the difference between consulting versus full planning. If we're just doing one project for them, that might be on an hourly basis. But if we're doing multiple things, we typically give them a proposal for those multiple items. And whether we get it done in 3 hours or 6 hours or 10 hours, we try to make it fair, but at the same time, worth our time to do those things, to do the planning items. So
where's your base now? Like what would you not do at chart? You have to do at least this much. What's your minimum?
Well, if it's just consulting off, a one-off thing, I'd say it's got to be at least $1,000 for just a one-off thing, because typically 2-3 hours is going to be the minimum we're going to do on a project. If we're doing planning, my absolute minimum for an essential plan right now is $2,500, and that's just getting like 2 or 3 things done for a very simple client. Advanced planning goes up, $4,500 and more, because there's just so much more to do there. And it just depends. Again, we'll go through and say, hey, we're going to work on these 4, 5, 6, 7 tasks for you. And it's going to be, the last proposal I sent out was $6,000, and they said, okay, we're going to go on vacation. We'll start when we get back. So
what, so people say that, are you trying to get up, 3,000 down, 3,000 at delivery? How do you do your payment stuff?
Yeah, I've been playing around with that. It was a little tough, but right now I've pretty much settled on half down and the rest spread over 6 to 12 months, whatever is simpler for the client, but just on auto payments. Because I don't want to be chasing clients for a payment. I used to do 50% down, 50% at completion. Well, then you have to send them invoices. Then they might not pay it, or it might get lost. So I just say, hey, we do 50% down and the rest spread over the length of the contract or the planning agreement. And it just automatically gets paid through advice pay. We don't have to worry about it unless their card gets changed or whatnot. But advice pay
hasn't been a problem for you. It's been fine.
It hasn't been a problem for me. No, it's been working pretty well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's fascinating in different ways. Some people are just, monthly. Some people are all up front. It's it's all over the place.
Well, I definitely offer the 100% upfront version, but most people take the 50% and spread payments over the rest.
Yeah. So tell me, someone who's listening to this, they're thinking about coming to How to Charge Live. They're thinking about becoming a member of the community, or they're just thinking about it. There's thousands of advisors who listen to this, and we don't have thousands of people that are a member of our community, and we certainly have had hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of advisors come to our events. But, I have a dog in the hunt, so I'm pretty biased, why people should come. What's your advice to someone who's like, you know what, I've been listening a long time. Maybe I should go to that thing, but how long until it'll pay for itself? Right. So what's your advice to them?
Oh man, if you've been in the industry for 4 or 5 years or more, and you're trying to find that thing that's going to take your business further. I've only been in the industry for 4.5 years. I don't have a financial background. I have a business background, but after that, How to Charge Live event, and again, this will be a plug for you guys. You guys said, hey, your first client will pay for it. And I ended up spending a bit more because we stayed in Tennessee for a little bit longer. But my first client paid for that and our extra stay after we got back, and I proposed the first planning
How long did it take
agreement.
you to propose the plan?
Oh, like you said, it was like a month. It was within the month or within 45 days. So it really did pay for itself with the first client, and I had extra expenses and it paid for those too. Yeah. So, it's funny because I just came back from a conference last week, and I've talked to many, many different advisors there that have been in the industry 10, 12, 15 plus years. And one of the great things about planning services is that you're accessing almost a different level of clientele. And these advisors have been in this industry for 2 times longer than me. And, I've surpassed them on the AUM and revenue basis. And we were just talking about, well, how are we doing planning? I'm like, you guys really need to listen to Sten. Like, I can't teach it because I'm doing it and I'm still figuring it out. But they do a great job just getting it part of their network, just teaching us how to do planning and how to charge for it. So.
Well, we try to live by the same philosophy I think other advisors live by, which is that when you give an advisor $1, that's an investment, and the goal of that advisor is to make it multiple dollars. It's pretty simple, right? That's the idea, right? Or you pay your premium, and at some point you're going to get more than the premium you paid, right? It's a simplification, but that's the goal, right? And that's our goal. That's why we made the event, is to say we're going to teach you how to know how to fish. We're going to give you fish. We're not a leads group, even though there's some teaching coming out soon on prospecting from us. But we really want you to go home and just turn on the faucet. You know what I mean? And great stuff comes out. But yeah, it's not easier. But the goal should not be easier. It's better, right? It's better. So I appreciate your answer on that. I'm glad we were able to cover the other expenses. That is not part of our event guarantee, that we will also cover, extra time in town. But I'm glad that we were able to cover that for you. And we do have an event coming up in August. And so if you're listening to this and you're interested in coming to that event, one or two things. One, go to howtochargelive.com or just email me, Andy, at eadvisornetwork.com, and we can set up a call and talk about it if you have any other questions about the event. But the website's got a ton of stuff. I think you're in the testimonial video. You might be, actually. So at least I know your headshots are on there as well. So because we have headshots when people come as well. So Mia, I want to thank you for your time, and I want to ask you as our last question, what are you excited about for your future in the business?
That's just everything about it. I mean, there's so much growth potential. I've been a business owner since I was 18 years old, and every business I had, I wanted to grow it. And, if you're not growing, you're dying. Growth is exciting. Growth is great. There's a lot of pain around growth too, but that's part of being a business owner. So, I want to expand our team, which right now it's just me and some part-time admins that we have, but get another associate advisor, get a full-time admin, secretary, and just being able to help more people, because there's a lot of need out there. The demand for planning is growing, because quite frankly, gathering assets is anybody really can do it, but not a lot of people can do planning. And so once I started learning how to do planning and charging for it especially from all the tips and everything you guys give and the coaching that you guys give, it's really just how big do you want to grow?
Right.
And so it's really exciting to be able to do that and just meet with people, present them ideas and say, oh, wow, we can do that over how long? Yeah, let's do this. When can we start?
That's a great question when people say, when can we start?
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. Well, thanks for your time. I hope those who are listening and watching recognize that the difference between Mihei's reality and your reality, if this isn't your reality, is information and action. And so obviously there's an investment into our events and our coaching and such, but our world does not have a shortage of information. I think that it has a lot of unhelpful information. but I think it's about finding the right information source and then implementing as quickly as possible. And we have a saying within our company that it has to matter on Monday. So everything we teach has to go through this filter of, does this matter on Monday? So even my questions to you today, Mihei, like I'm always trying to put them through the filter of, is the answer to this question, or is the question I'm about to ask going to be worthy of an answer that an advisor is going to hear while they're driving or working out or taking a walk, that they're going to go do something with it, you know? So knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. And so I appreciate you being an implementer and action taker. I do want to challenge people to take us up on our offer that if the event does not pay for itself, that we'll give your money back. And we've never given a refund for one of two reasons. One, some people never take action, and so they're not going to ask for it. And then the other one is they did take action and it worked. So I'm grateful for you and for the example that you've set to other advisors. And I am also excited about your future. And it's a little easier than putting together vacuum cleaners. Well, maybe it's harder. It's way more interesting, right?
Well, I was 8, so everything was exciting then.
That's right. Actually, for an 8-year-old, putting together a vacuum cleaner was a lot of fun. For at least,
it was great. Yeah. There's like 10 screws in the whole thing. It wasn't a big deal, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
This is pre-electric drill, right? I mean, this is hand.
Oh yeah, hand screw everything.
Wow, hand screwed. Well, that's impressive, me.
Well, like my one of my mentors says is, I think I read it in a book too, is everything is figure outable. So if you don't have the best proposal look right now, who cares? Try it, send it. You know, I'm definitely working on so many different things and trying to improve it, learning from you guys. And some people say yes still with how bad it might look.
Hey, we're working. I know. I've seen your proposal too. I agree.
Yeah, exactly.
But we are the plan score software we're working on for proposals and plans is I'm literally sending another set of revisions to the developer today. So that's coming soon for EA and members. So
and I'm really excited.
I'm working on it, man. I'm here to help.
Yeah, but what I meant to say is people still say yes, even if it doesn't look the best, right? Because it's about the value that you're providing to them.
Yours wasn't the worst. So
well, I appreciate that.
That's a lame compliment. It wasn't the worst.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank you for your time. Folks, thanks for listening to another episode of the show. If you have any questions for Sten or myself, you can reach out to me directly, Andy at eadvisornetwork.com. Do check out howtochargelive.com. And also, we're going to have another run through Whiteboard University. That'll be probably later in August. So you can go to whiteboard in the letter U, whiteboardu.com. Check it out. And if there's anything else we can help you with, just reach out to us. We're here to help. God bless. And Mihei, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Andy.